Gentlemen, welcome back to the JD Photo Podcast. So today I've got Waynos Photo and Film. We're going to have a really fun conversation today about all things photography and videography. Now, Waynos primarily comes from the videography side. So he's actually primarily a videographer and secondly a photographer. So we're going to dive into a lot of things about videography. So hang in there, keen videographers. Feel free to ask us questions. We've both been in the industry doing weddings as professionals for several years now. Waynos has a background in a lot of YouTube content. So he's very well versed in producing content for an online audience. So there's a lot of things for us to cover today. Like always, this episode is supported by Rode. Rode do phenomenal gear. A lot of their stuff, given audio microphones and wireless gear and the shenanigans and so on is absolutely incredible. Check their stuff out. I absolutely love Rode. I've been using this stuff for a long time. The wireless features, especially for weddings, are absolutely phenomenal. Shout out to Matches as well. We are drinking their lemon beer. We're going to head into a night off tonight and chill out for tomorrow as well. So generally my weekend starts on a Tuesday and Wednesday, given the weekends are full on for us event and wedding workers. So yeah, we're gonna have a fun episode today. We're gonna chill out. We're gonna head into my night off. So people who are jumping in, let us know if you have any questions, and we're gonna dive straight into the episode. So Waynos, let's get into it, man. When did you start shooting? When did you first pick up a camera? How did all that start?
Yeah, thanks, James, and thanks, James, for having me on.
No, my pleasure, mate.
Yeah, I suppose that my camera involvement started when I was a teenager. So I think that was back when the dinosaurs were alive.
There you go.
And I've got a few years on me. So and in those days, the only automated function we had was the light meter. And that was just to get your exposure. You had film, and then you had to actually adjust the lens with a split screen to actually focus it. And then you would take the photo and it'd go click, and then you would wind it on and go and take another photo, click. So it was a very different experience. And in my parents' garage, I used to use black and white because that was sort of, colour was a bit expensive. And I used to develop all of my own film and then do my own prints. So that's where I started. And I played with cameras just as a hobby, throughout my whole life. And then I wanted to start YouTube. I saw some people doing YouTube and I thought, okay, this looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I knew nothing, zero about video. So that's when my passion started for video. I wanted to talk about cycling and I had to obviously have the equipment. But what happened is after a while, the equipment became more of the interest and I got very excited about cameras and all the technology with them. So I did a lot of deep dive and watched a lot of content online. But I've been playing with video now maybe 10 to 15 years with cameras. Yeah. And it's I've learned quite a bit along the way and probably made, I don't know how many videos I've made. Yeah. Tens of thousands of videos. I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos online on YouTube and Instagram and so forth. So yeah, I've done quite a bit, but fairly new to weddings as such. Maybe a few years been doing weddings, but really loving it. Mm-hmm. I just love the ambience of them. It never gets old watching someone get married. So it's becoming a bit of a passion for sure.
Absolutely, man. I think weddings are a fantastic industry to come into. Look, it is a hard industry to break into. It's a hard industry to find yourself in, I think, at least. I certainly have struggled. Look, I think your pathway is pretty awesome, man. Especially back in the film days, man. I should have been a film cameras as well. Have had my time using film and playing around with it, especially at university. And it's just a different time, different era. It's different appreciation for the craft as well. The way, you explain shooting and stuff and, it's my experience, you kind of put more thought into the single image, right? And then, you're capturing it and waiting for it to be developed and seeing what comes out. Definitely a different kind of appreciation for the craft. But the way you get good at photography and videography, in my opinion, is... you find a passion, right? You find a passion, you start to become obsessed with it. You learn all about the gear, then you learn about the techniques, then you learn about producing things. So, look, that's how I got into it as well. I'm not sure how you learned your videography skills, but mine was mostly through YouTube and online content. And yes, I did go to university and study and learn the theoretical side to photography, but a lot of that technical was definitely through YouTube. I'm not sure if that's your experience as well, was a lot of self-taught and education.
Yeah, I would say that I used YouTube as my university. So, Google it.
How good is it? How good is YouTube?
And
the amount of knowledge out there.
yeah, unfortunately, there is kind of some half-truths.
It'll be
There's some
quick, yeah.
half-truths on YouTube about a lot of technology, and you know, it's like a rule of thumb. They work most of the time, but they're not really 100% correct.
No.
So I got a little bit confused with some of the stuff, but you eventually work it out. And then, of course, you know, you do your own trial and error.
Yes.
So you go, okay, then, well, you know, this guy's saying this. So then you get your camera and you get your lights.
It's like anything, though,
you
right?
try it, and then you go, oh, I don't know if I agree with this, or yeah, the guy was 100% right, whatever.
That's
but
right, yeah.
You put it into practice, you did the research and you put it into practice, and then you confirm that what that person was saying is, you know, works for you or is actually true.
Yeah, brilliant. That's like everything, I think, you know, especially at like even in my university course, it was, you know, they teach you stuff, you take it in, you practice it, and then you determine yourself whether or not you're going to use it, you know. And I did the same throughout everything. I don't think there's a one size fit all approach to anything, you know. Even you know, the recent marketing course I did, I think the people who have not gone so well in the marketing course are the people who take everything they say as the gospel and not innovate and change and adapt it to their own specialty or their niches or their fields or whatever it might be. So I think the people who generally go on to do their own stuff are the people who, you know, take knowledge in, assess it, and then bring it into their own way of working, right? Which is, you know, kind of what you've done. You know, you've gone online, you research stuff, you bring it back, and then you determine what you are and you're not going to use, right? And then, yeah. I mean, I do the same all the time.
And I think
Sometimes
also
like,
it's
rubbish, good.
yeah, and I think also it's a lot more. It's almost like the more you learn, the more you kind of realize you don't know.
Oh man,
And
yeah.
and you know, like we talk about weddings, but you know, if you go and I follow quite a few people who do actually film. They're actually filmmakers, and when you see the way they work and what they're doing, you're going, you know, we're just like children in comparison. You know, there's gaffers, there's sound people, there's multiple cameras, there's directors, there's specific people for every task, and they're experts in the profession, and they will actually completely block out windows in a room, set up the lights, completely transform the look. They use what they call practicals, which is like a light, and then they'll have a light that actually mimics the look from light coming from that practical. And when you start to see all that stuff, you go, cheapers creepers, you know, like
the cinema world's
this is serious stuff.
The cinema world's a whole nother beast of, you know, kind of stuff that they do, man. The lighting and the rigs that they do. It's gave me a real appreciation for how producing good films can never be done independently, and that you actually need to learn how to work in teams quite well. Yes, you can make films independently, you know, like you and I do, but if you really want to take it to the next level and really want to start to work on things like commercial projects, like you can't go into a site and be a one-man band. You know, you need to have people on site assisting with lighting and assisting with audio and actually making sure everything's running efficiently, because there is a lot of moving parts. And when you start to light in that way and start to kind of construct scenes and, you know, mimic natural light, you can't do it on your own, you know. And yeah, I think that's kind of opened my mind a little bit and kind of changed how I'm thinking of like moving forward in my own endeavors. And I started to realize I just don't feel like I can do it all on my own. You know, there's so many moving parts, and to really like put the time and the effort in, it's really difficult to do it on. I don't know if you agree. Like, you know, obviously, you know, yeah, it's weddings are a different story. You know, if you're kind of shooting a wedding, you're not really bringing in heavy lighting, and you're not really trying to create that artificial look so much. But if you're doing like a commercial project and you need to light it in a certain way, you're just going to slow yourself down having too many stands and stuff. You need to have someone, you know, manning that on their own. Well, I think at least.
I do believe that to elevate the production level, you do need more people.
100%.
And that probably brings me sort of full circle to the pricing that we have locally here in Perth, West Australia. And we do have, what would you call it, very affordable pricing here in WA compared to the eastern states and the rest of the Western world.
We do. Why do you think that is?
And I think it's like a balance, because people are not going to invest in production and expanding their coverage of an event if there's not the money there. It's like, you know, it's like people elevate other people. So if the money's more and people are making better films, then everyone goes, I want to make films like that. So then it elevates everyone else. And I think that because Perth is kind of a bubble city and the prices here are not that high compared to I mean, some people may think they are high, but really in comparison, they're not to the East Coast or to overseas, especially to America. It's very hard to elevate the production because people can't invest in that because they're not the money. People are not willing to pay the money. I mean, I know there's some companies in the US, they're using 5 shooters to cover a wedding. You just couldn't do that here. It's just there's just not the value in it to pay 5 very good videographers to shoot a wedding. It'd be prohibitive. Yeah.
I completely agree. I don't think there's a market for it. I think there is a market for it, and there is a luxury market in Perth, West Australia, but the market's very small. The market's very different to the rest of the world, and this is my kind of take on it as well. And I completely agree with you. I think that you need to be very positioned very differently compared to if you're operating out of somewhere like Europe or the United States, where you do have a larger market to sell to, so your demographics a lot larger, and there's more people existing within it. Somewhere like Perth, West Australia, you're very limited. You're limited to 2 million people, and you're not taking weddings over east unless you want to fly 5 hours, once a week and 5 hours back. It's not like Europe, you get in a 5-hour flight on the other side of Europe. You live in Spain, you're shooting weddings in France, Portugal, Italy, Croatia, wherever it might be, and it's a 1-hour flight everywhere. So your market is, not just Perth, West Australia, 2 million people, it's the whole of Europe. And in terms of that, you have the opportunities that you can produce a better service because there's more people who have money. There's more money circulating within the whole of Europe than Perth, West Australia. So you have the opportunities to produce bigger and better weddings.
Yeah, that's correct, James. And the other thing that's very specific to weddings is that you have a time restriction because you have to maintain the schedule. It's not. I mean, people like to talk about the quality of weddings, but in reality. And I had to have a mind shift here on weddings because it's more about capturing the moments. And I know people have discussed this on your podcast before, and it's very, very true. So the moment is more important than the artistic, lighting and all of the extra things you could do to make the shot better. You need to get the shot, and then you need to get another shot, say 30 seconds later, because you're moving, something else is happening. You need to capture the moments. That's number one. Number two is if you can make it look beautiful, then you can. And if you have more people on site, you can have people holding modifiers. You can have people shooting from different angles with different focal lengths on. And you can cut between them. It makes the video more engaging. Or as a photographer, you can have a number of people doing a hair light, and they could also have their key light. And having all these extra people can elevate it, but you can't set it up beforehand and take the photo because you are time restricted on a wedding event.
Yeah, I think the time restraints on the wedding days, it's really difficult, and it makes it really limiting with how you can produce certain work. I think I absolutely agree. The moment takes precedent. You need to prioritize the moment. I think how I've been thinking about it, because I do have that editorial style, is I am trying extremely hard to work out ways how I can communicate my unique approach to wedding photography, and try to create a service first and then see if there's a market for it. Well, obviously do market research first and make sure that people are willing to purchase what I am going to design, and then I end up going to design it and then try and educate people around what we're actually providing. So if that makes sense. So like you said, people spend money on what they value. If they don't know what you're providing, they don't know if they're going to value it. Yeah.
The chicken and the egg problem is there because how do you know if people are going to buy it until you offer it?
Yeah.
And then if you offer it, how do you know, are people going to buy it?
So massive risk.
It's hard, but I mean, I do have that concept where especially at the moment,
we have weddings with Shelby saying hi, Wayne.
Sorry, who's that?
Weddings with Shelby, I think.
Shelby. Yeah. Hi, Shelby. How are you?
What's up, Shelby? Shout out to you. Thanks for jumping in and commenting. We have Antonia Pix as well jumping in saying, film is so good. I preferred shooting it. Feels much more satisfying. I definitely think the final product you produce with film is a lot more satisfying. Antonia, I completely agree. It's just like that narrative you're able to construct, and the amount of control that you have going into how you're kind of making your audience feels a lot more powerful than photography. So definitely value that input. Thanks so much for jumping in, mate. It's hard, man. So how do you design, how do you know that a service is going to exist? I'm kind of of the opinion that you don't. You just need to try it, right? And it's trial and error. Like, that's what I've done my whole, life now, for the last 10 to 11 years, is I've just brought stuff, tried it, and then if it doesn't work, throw it in the bin and try it again and keep going. There's things that haven't worked out. Happens all the time. Invest money to stuff and stuff goes wrong or whatever. But as long as you keep trying, I think eventually you will find that gap in the market. And then it'll click, and then it kind of works. And I'm doing that now with weddings. I'm trying to design a wedding service that people really value, and work out ways to kind of present that to people in the online world. And it's really just about jumping on calls with potential clients and showing them, and saying to them, even if you don't want it, just tell me why, getting that feedback. And a lot of the time is what I've realized is people are saying, what you're offering is amazing, we just can't afford it. And that's a really big trend in Perth, is that I'm getting a lot of leads, a lot of inquiries, spending a lot of time talking with people, but a lot of them either don't value it or they can't afford it. And I think that comes back to the limitations of the Perth market, which is very, very real. And like you say, we just can't get the same rates as the other parts of the world. So we need to work out ways to work within that limitation. Yeah,
I think it's just, and that's the thing. People like to say things like, "Oh, but you're just too expensive," or it's insane what people are charging. I mean, I've read all those comments.
Yeah.
Or another one which has been very popular on TikTok lately, which is wedding tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fairly new to the industry, and one thing I'm seeing very much is people really are putting a lot of effort into people's weddings. These are just not normal. These are people who are passionate about what they're doing, and the work that they put in is incredible for what they charge.
It's enormous,
Especially some of the furniture that comes into these rooms. I'm working with a planner now, and I must admit, I've been absolutely blown away by what they do. And that's what people don't understand. What it is what makes it the whole wedding industry expensive is because everything associated with your specific wedding is customized.
Yes.
It's not like the arbor that you see at your friend's wedding is the same arbor that is at your wedding. It's been pulled down, taken to bits, and it's rebuilt. They affix all of the noodles to the frame. Correct. Every single flower is placed in its place.
Correct.
One by one by one. You want blue and white, you want blue and pink, whatever you ask for, you get. It's customized to your service. And that's what people don't understand. The time it takes to put the room or your garden together with all your flowers is quite significant. You want to put out 100 chairs, see how long that takes you.
Yeah, look, and I completely agree. You've nailed it on the head. That is why wedding service costs so much. I know for me, with my videography, my photography practice, we can put up to 100 hours in a single 10-hour wedding day. 3 people on site, 30 hours just there. Then you lead up 35 hours. Your post production, another 30 to 40 hours there. You're getting to 85 hours, and your marketing efforts and everything you put in just to get that job, it adds up. And you're going, well, all of a sudden you're $8,000 you're charging for 10 hours, $1,000 an hour. You break it down, and all of it actually amounts to not very much. And that's one part of the equation is how long it actually takes to do something like a customized service. I will get into another part of that equation in a second. But
yep. And I think what people, and I've actually made a couple of short videos on this as well. A lot of people like to talk about DIY, and if you're having a very, very small wedding, absolutely, some really good tips
That's
online.
it.
You can do your own arbors and so forth. But what people don't appreciate is most weddings are at a remote location. They're not at your home. So you need to, if you're having significant food or significant flowers or whatever it is you need to put together, even the chairs, everything like that, do you need to hire a van? Have people who are going to help you? Because you're getting married, you can't do it. So the people that you're helping, have they got the vehicles to be able to transport the stuff? Are they willing to put the time in, right? Are they willing to get up, at 5 o'clock in the morning?
I think
doing all this stuff,
a little
preparing?
It goes a little deeper than that though as well, because
that's what they don't get.
They don't get it, but we're also living in a society where we're very used to mass production and commercialization of everything. Everything is run by giant corporations that find the most efficient way to give you a product like a $2.50, can of Coke or whatever, or, an outfit that you bought, a shirt is, $15, $20 now when you go to the shop. So everything's just being reduced and kind of reduced in price across the board. And people are used to having like access to really cheap and affordable items. And I think people might realize that customization and uniqueness does come with a very high price, but I think the thing is people are looking for those cheaper items more and more. And that's just what's happening in the photography and videography industry as well. People are looking for very cheap items. But the problem is when it is someone's wedding, a lot of us will refuse to give them that lower quality product because we don't want to disappoint and let them down, right? So we still provide a customized, highly expensive or should be expensive product for the lower rate. And I think that's what's happening is in photography and video, you can't really reduce the quality too much without letting your clients down, right?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, James. And I think over the years, because I've been around on this planet for quite a while. Yeah. When years ago, if you got 40 or 50 prints, on a wedding book, that was it. This whole idea of 600 photos, 1,000 photos, was just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't exist, right? So the technology has allowed people to get more for the same money.
Yeah.
And it's the same also with weddings now. Like you're starting to see a lot of these LED type butterflies and lilies and lights on tables, and they're a lot cheaper for the planners to source and provide. Like to put all those lightings in, say, 15 years ago would have been impractical. So the technology has made the access to people in the industry like cheaper, and people are getting more for their money.
Yeah.
But the cost, because we live in a Western society, it's the labour. And the labour, because it's customised and things have to be erected on site, you've got photographers moving around in a manual type of way to work with you on a whole day to capture your wedding, and the editing is all done custom and manual. It's not produced. It's not like something off Temu.
Yes.
The labour time rate is high in the Western country, and that's where a lot of the money is going. It's the labour cost. It's not so much the equipment or the products. It's not like buying a T-shirt where they've made maybe 1 million of them.
That's right. I don't think you can do that with photography. And if you did, it would be a very cheap product and a very poor product, truthfully, because like as much as we want to say, you can find ways to make your service more efficient. You can use AI to edit your software, let's say, or you can find, different ways to do it. I just don't think you're going to have satisfied customers like you would with something like a T-shirt. And that's kind of, that's my thoughts on it lately, at least. I think, photography, and videography. I think the industry is full of people, the potential clients, people out there. Like I'm sure everyone who's a couple getting married, that you guys want like a really good quality product for your wedding photography. Then we can't provide a mass-produced product, can we? It's not possible. It's not an option out there. That's why the cost is associated high, and no one's really moving in that direction. And the people are moving in that direction and are trying to offer low rates. Like you've obviously seen a lot of as I am, they're just gonna end up working for a very, very low hourly rate, and that's not okay. I know even my hourly rate can get really quite low. Sometimes I'm doing weddings for below minimum wage, and a lot of the time it's just for getting that initial portfolio boost, especially getting into the industry. It's a lot of hard, work and grinding, and I spent a lot of time doing the editorials. They were all free, so we're talking like 500 hours of just free labor just to develop the style and start selling it to people. And people don't realize that. And unfortunately, it's something that there's a divide in our culture at the moment, I think, and we're kind of in this post-COVID era of things coming down and down and down. There's discounts everywhere, and the photography and luxury market industry is kind of in this middle zone where it's really hard to know what to do. And I think a lot of people are going out of business at the moment. There are a lot of luxury stores, in enormous amounts of debt, across giant companies. And the question is for us photographers and videographers is how do we survive this crazy period? How do we do it?
Well, probably, bringing it a full circle, my kind of point, and I really liked Vicky Ramich.
Yes,
podcast.
Vicky Ramich is amazing
because she explained everything absolutely perfectly, right? It's not just we're coming and taking photos or video or putting chairs on the ground or building an arbor. It's the whole follow-up, the service, the selection of what you want. Because I know I do, and I'd imagine you would as well, James. You sit down with the client to say, what is important to you at your wedding? So then we build what we're going to actually capture around the specific requirements of the customer. So it's a bespoke service,
Yes.
and and we're not making millions of dollars, that's for sure. And
Like I said, I've done some weddings at about $15 an hour.
yeah, and I've worked for as well. But my point is that the average wedding, they say in Perth is around about 33,000.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, that's a great start.
And
yeah.
it sounds a lot of money, but it's actually not.
No.
If you start to look at cost of venues and so forth, it's not that expensive. And I think most of the reason why people say, oh, that's too expensive, is more to do with perception.
Absolutely.
It's not so much to do with you're really expensive, because a lot of times people go, oh, that's expensive, but you're just like the market average. In fact, compared to Eastern States, we're incredibly cheap here.
We are incredibly
The cost
cheap.
to have a wedding in West Australia is significant. And Vicky highlighted this very, very well. She's done ones overseas, and even in Bali, things like marquees. They think marquees, oh, it's just a tent. No, there's a lot of moving parts. Where do you get power from? How do you air condition it? So forth. And this is the things that people, they think just happen. And there's a lot of work. And people go, oh, but I can get my bestie to come along with my iPhone. But the problem is, first of all, your bestie doesn't know what to capture. Secondly, they coming to your wedding to enjoy the day, not to be someone who has to take a photo of everything. And this is one of the reasons why you actually employ a photographer or a videographer, is so that task is guaranteed to be done. It's like dedicating someone, and you're paying them, a professional, to know exactly what to do. It's not just about the camera and taking a nice photo. It's about capturing the very important moments that you've spent all of your money and all of your time on to make that day absolutely perfect.
There's another layer to that as well, Waynos. And like you said, before you came into weddings, you had this apprehension of actually being able to capture a wedding entirely the best way possible. And I had the same, fears, and like yourself did, and what I did was, coming into weddings, it was just an enormous amount of research and an enormous amount of practice. I've spent so I picked up a camera at 14 years old when I first picked up a camera. And since 14, I'm almost 30 years old. Since 14, I've literally just lived and breathed photography. Lived and breathed it, spent hours and hours in the printing rooms, learning, perfecting images. And it's like, what price do you put on that? What price do you put on, 11 to 14 years of learning, craft photography? And then you go, oh, my friend, your bestie can come with a phone and do the same thing. It's like, there's no way. There's no way that, someone, 2-3 years experience or whatever can produce the work that someone with, 10 to 15 years of experience can produce. And there's even just like the lead up and the hours put into it and the research and understanding moments, understanding composition, understanding lighting, post-production, the whole lot. That's what you're really paying for, and that's what you're really looking for. And yeah, I think if people start to actually realize like how difficult producing high-end wedding videography and photography actually is, maybe that it will change and people will start to see the value in it again. I think people aren't marketing very well in our industry, I would say. I think that the sales tactics are a little bit off at the moment, where if you start scrolling Facebook and Instagram, it's almost like red dot flashing, red light sales. You'll see like you're 20% off, $3,000 off a package or whatever. And I think it's just the wrong way to go about things.
I think it is. It is because it becomes the norm. It's like, why should I buy something today because Black Friday's coming?
That's right.
But just to go back to, a lot of people talk about the images, and they like to talk about, the lighting and golden hour and all these sorts of lovely things we love to capture and produce beautiful images because we're videographers and photographers, and we see ourselves as artists.
Yes.
But I always try to put myself in the customer's shoes, because the customer doesn't know anything about cameras. They don't know anything about gimbals or monopods or R5 Canon. They may have heard of Canon, but they don't care about the camera. They don't care about all of this jargon we talk about. All they want is someone to come capture all the nice moments of their wedding, right? And for the photos to look reasonable, right? And it's more, and that's the point I want to make, is that a person who's just a bestie with an iPhone doesn't know what to point the camera at. It's also about capturing the key points. Like what you actually point your camera at is important too, not just pushing the button. So before you push the button, you have to know, should I take that photo? And you could be at a wedding And you could be walking around and you go, oh, I didn't know you wanted a picture of the cake. You know, I didn't know you wanted a picture of grandma,
Yes.
you know. But a professional knows to capture all those stuffs. Even like you're wishing well,
Yep.
grandma and granddad, all of the parents, all the relatives, any items like letters you may have, you've exchanged between each other. We capture all of that stuff and we talk to you about that prior, so you have exactly what you want captured on that day. And I think that we need to really put ourselves into this bucket where we actually are documentary and event visuals first. We need to make sure that we capture everything first. Then if we can elevate that and make it look beautiful as well, time allowing, then we also do that as well. And of course, if you can move that up to scale and become better, then that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the expertise, you're paying for the knowledge, and you're also paying for the technique.
I agree. I think, I think first and foremostly, you need to put yourself into that bucket of being able to document and capture natural and candid moments and produce like a documentary style approach to weddings. I think that's how you need to start always. That's how I started. When I expanded and when I really started to push my wedding photography, I decided I was going to go down an editorial and stylized route using the flash photography and using the advanced techniques I learned at university and throughout, 5 to 10 years of doing it. And the way I did that was I organized styled shoots to create a style of work to then promote to my potential customers. And that's when I began to expand beyond like documentary and candid and natural moments. And that did me really a lot of good stuff. So like being able to like create a style and create a way of working and then showing the potential to prospects or to couples or whatever you want to, call your buyers, did a lot of really did a lot for me and kind of really pushed forward the kind of rates I was able to charge when I was able to produce. But it always comes back to learning ways to present your value and sell your value to other people. And I think that's really, really, really hard to do because it's like, how do you show your value and show what you can do to another couple? And I certainly haven't found the definitive answer to that. I don't know if there is a definitive answer because everyone's going to relate with different people and different ways of kind of selling a service. And I think it's very much like the best photographers that I've talked to have always said it's just about putting yourself out there and finding the people who relate with what you do and relate with who you are as a person. And I think that's what I'm trying to really stay true to in weddings. I think it's a truth though that I don't think I'm going to fill my calendar in with weddings if I do that, to be entirely honest. Unless things change, unless the world kind of moves in a general different direction to where it is now. So I think especially if you're in Perth, I don't think only offering a wedding photography service is the right way to go. And that's kind of where I've ended up with. And I found like a really happy place with it where it's like I'm able to shoot my weddings to the best standard possible, but I'm not stressed about filling my calendar and getting like a whole lot of work through because I shoot a different type of photography that's branded differently and maybe part of a different entity or whatever it might be. But that, let's say that's headshot photography or that's event photography or that's something else. So you have your backbone and you're able to actually do it full time. Because I think the thing with the market at the moment is there's a lot of part-time photographers out there. Like a lot of, like most people who are wedding photographers are part-time wedding photographers. There's not a whole lot of them actually doing it full time. And I think that's something that, needs to be called out a little bit more. And needs to be acknowledged. And it's like, if you really want a full-time wedding photographer, you need to obviously come back to the rates and ask like, how much are we paying and what are we doing and all that. But we also kind of, I think we just need to speak about them more. And I don't know if you agree, if you've noticed the same thing as well. Yeah,
I completely agree. And I mean, I was a part-time weekend warrior as well for a while. So I can't knock them too much.
Yeah, so was I.
I think we all start there.
I did a social work degree and I was a counsellor. So, I was a part-time for a long time. And it's a normal part of, getting into business. Yeah.
But I think what we need to, and this is where my standpoint is, you go, that's the way it is. That's the environment. There's going to be part-time photographers. There's going to be part-time videographers. And, we like to talk about our styles in the wedding industry. But I think most people who aren't in the artistic type area, they find it very difficult to see what, you might say to them, I have an editorial style. They might have no clue what that even means, right?
That's right.
So how do you sell it to someone who just wants to get married You go, oh, but I'm an editorial style, and they're going, well, I just want
I
some photos.
think those are the wrong people to sell to for me at least. And I think there's a market for them, and there's people who will buy from it. But that's why I think it's really important for me at least not to overly rely on weddings, because then I think I'm going to start to stretch and try and get those clients as well. And those aren't the clients that I really want to get. Yeah.
I mean, look, I personally me, this is just my view. I love beautiful images. And you know, I follow a lot of videographers and photographers around the world because I just love looking at beautiful images. And my videos, I used to do a lot of fancy transitions and all this sort of stuff. I've got rid of them all. The thing that I focus on now is making every clip look as good as a photo. So I could snap a clip from, snap that clip like a still clip, and I can sell that as a photo. It's good enough to be a photo, right?
It's a hard thing to do.
And I spend a lot of time now perfecting each clip.
Yep.
And I start it from the beginning to the end. I don't mix stuff up. I'm very much like Michael, who was on previously. I like to start at the beginning of the day and finish. I have changed them at customers' request, but I tend to keep it in a time sequence. And the reason why I do that, because I think it helps people who are watching that video who may not have been at the wedding to understand the day. I get why people change things around, because it can be more spectacular. It can look more like a commercial. It can look more flashy. But I'm not too sure if that's actually what families want.
Depends who you sell to.
So it depends. But my style is I start at the beginning of the day and I finish at the end of the day. And I only use 3 different transitions. I use a hard cut, which is just basically like one clip to another. I use a fade, which is where it blends into the other one. And I'll use a speed ramp. I don't do anything else. 0. I kind of I got all the fancy stuff out of my system years ago. And
I think everyone goes through that phase, right?
Simple and clean, and make the images to look as nice as I possibly can.
The best videographers don't use a whole lot of transitions. Transitions are used very sparingly. Hard cuts are the most effective transition. Matching movement.
And I think also there's been a trend recently where they like to have the clips flash very quickly.
Yes.
So it's almost like as if you're seeing a whole bunch of photos, but it's a video.
It's an Instagram catch.
And those things are good, to stop scrolling. And I know why people are using them. But when you're making a video for a family,
it's a different medium.
They want to see what the bride's wearing. They want to see the detail in the dress. They want to see, that flower the groom was wearing because his mother would give it to him. There could be all these sentimental things. They want to be able to see what's happening. Excuse me. And I've really changed my style, because I think with weddings I had to really move away from the fact that I'm an artist, right, first, and I'm just capturing video, but now I have the concept of like I'm being paid by a client. What does a couple really want? What does the family really want?
And listening
they're
to that's
paying
important.
me, right, to deliver something. So if they want something that's a more documentary style, like I just had an inquiry, they go, oh, look, my father, when he had his wedding, and they had half an hour video. Can you do that? I go, yep, that's what you want. That's what you have. Because it's not about me. It's about them. I'm providing a service they're paying for, and they're saying, can I have it like this? And you go, absolutely. Because at my company, I want to deliver what the customer wants.
Absolutely.
It's not about, that's my product, take it or leave it.
I think that's it. Yeah, that's completely accurate, man. I think that's what you need to do. You need to how do you say it? I guess what a lot of photographers say is find your people. And I think what that to me just means market yourself. Learn a way to market yourself. You're going to have a different way of marketing yourself. You're going to have a different style. You're going to relate with different people. I'm going to relate with different people. Michael's going to relate with different people, and so on and so on. We're all going to connect and relate with different people. I think as a artist/service provider, the way you become successful and find clients and actually get to produce work is, you do exactly what you're doing, which is you You stay true to yourself. You do what you like. You refine your style over a period of time. You work out a way to put it out there and find people who relate with that work, and then work out a way to provide them with what they want. And that's the key. It's like working out who that audience is, working out, like becoming a business owner is like a form of therapy, right? You're looking at your internal struggles, your internal traumas, your psyche, whatever it might be, and you're taking that all away, and you're saying to yourself, what is actually true? Who am I? What can I actually put out in the world? And then you're putting that out in the world and finding other people who like that, and then learning what they want and then selling to them. So it comes from a place of transparency and honesty, for myself at least. That's how I produce stuff that I think people really relate with. And I think that is across the board what all good business owners start to do. And when someone has a vision and they want to bring that into the world, that's usually when you see, the like Steve Jobs or something, bringing Apple into the world and the iPhone, and, just revolutionizing and changing everything. I think it's a similar thing to that. It's, really breaking down.
That's actually a very good example, because I'm old enough to remember.
There you go.
when the Apple product actually took off. And the reason why the Apple product took off is because we had a sorry, I'm just going a little bit off topic here, but
go for it. It's a podcast.
This is a very good example of a company and how they dominated the market. Because what happened is that we started to have these remote devices, and there was a product called Palm Pilot. And what it was is it was a thing you could sync with your computer and would have all your calendars in, and it was a little handheld device about the size of a phone. And you could pick it, unclip it, and take it with you somewhere, and it had copied all of your data from your computer, all your calendars and everything. You had it all with you, right? And you've got to understand, this was like, wow, this was fantastic, right? Yeah. Like, this is brand new technology. And then Microsoft kind of took over, and Hewlett-Packard were involved in Microsoft, and they had a similar thing. I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't called a Palm Pilot, it was called something else. But these devices were extremely glitchy, right? They used to play up all the time, okay? And then they kind of started to become separate they became more kind of mobile devices like you sort of see now, but they weren't phones at that point in time. And then what happened is these devices, because they're so glitchy, people kind of like worked with them, but they were a pain in the neck, right? Apple came out with a product that wasn't glitchy. It was a product that worked. And people just dropped everything and just started using Apple. I can't remember. I think they weren't called Apple then. They were called something else. But,
I don't know, yeah.
But anyway, and it was like, they just worked. And people just went, just the product to buy. Yeah. And that's how they got their market share, because typically, exactly like Microsoft is today, they're damn glitchy.
Yes.
It doesn't change. Like it lasts like 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's how they won the market. Yep. So they offered something that was reliable.
Yes.
It was effective.
Yep.
And it just worked. And
I think your last point there, it just works bang on what you want to do as a service provider.
And that's what I'm trying to navigate at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, it's very hard as a vendor to really put yourself in the shoes of a couple or a bride.
Yeah.
And what do they really want from their wedding day? What's their expectations?
That's correct.
And at the moment, I'm trying to add value. So I'm including some little albums, and I also have a thing called a video book, which seems to be a big secret in the wedding industry. I don't know why, because everyone who sees them loves them.
Yes.
And I include that. So these are like physical items that I give to the client. They don't just get some download from somewhere or other, a link.
I think that's great.
Get posted.
Yeah, that's great.
They get posted. Yeah. I used to have framed photos, but now I'm moving to this album style. So I send them an album, which has 20, maybe 30 photos in that are taken from the video. And then they also get the video book, which is you just open it, you can leave it on your coffee table and it plays your video. Mm-hmm. And they also get the physical thumb drive or SD drive. So there's no quirkiness about going onto some websites, because I've actually found that a lot of clients are just not familiar with, Google Drives and these online. They just don't know how to download the stuff. And they go, I can't download it. So what are you going to do? You're going to argue with them? I just say, plan B, I'll send you an SD card. And I want to make the experience seamless for the couples. Mm-hmm. They don't need to know about Google Drive or Dropbox or anything like that, I want to make the experience from start to finish seamless. I have a meeting with them. We go through all the products. I come and shoot their wedding, and then they get hard products at the end.
Yep.
I'm still obviously trying to fine tune that. What
But
the
you
clients want,
you
but-
always fine tune it, right? And
Yeah.
that's a never ending process, and that's what business is. It's just slowly adapting and changing over time. I think at least that's what I've been doing at least. And I think that's a great approach, man. You got to keep on trajectory, right? And yeah, I think eventually it just clicks, right? And couples, I'm still working out my process, and I'm
that's
changing it
right,
over
because
time, yeah.
it's very hard to. I mean, obviously, different brides have different or couples, should I say, have different expectations. But I think that I see sometimes, artists seem to be a little bit yeah, but but my video is fantastic or my photo is fantastic, and it might be, but if the couple can't see value in it,
They're not going to get it.
there's no value.
That's right.
Because they're the customer, they're not paying you. So you need to provide what they want. And you may not align with what they want.
That's right. Yeah. And I think the big thing that kind of changed my mindset around that was so Belle V, who I had on as well, is a branding photographer, and she's phenomenal. She does really amazing stuff, and her whole take is she's a very specialist. She wants to specialize and target a very niche demographic, and I think her mindset of not appealing to everyone rings true to designing a product that people are actually going to see the value in. Because if you try and design a product in a service industry that's too spread thin across too many and trying to target too many different people, you're going to design a product that is appealing to everyone but no one. It's a jack of all trades, I think, it's very much designing easy to understand and fewer packages, less is more a lot of the time, and then having those packages be simple to choose from, and then finding people who are going to like those packages. So 1, 2, 3, 2 most popular, pick 2 and send it to everyone, and then everyone's going to pick 2 and just tell them what to buy.
I have heard that, James, and I do agree with that, but I kind of do disagree a little bit.
There's another take and another way to sell, and there's actually a method that I've just got rid of, what I was doing for a long time, and that was the more traditional method of bringing people in as a lead, calling them, bringing them in for a meeting, talking to them, and then trying to work out what they want to sell. I've actually stopped doing that, and I was doing that for 2 to 3 years. It works very well, and it's a different way of selling. But I think with how I wanted to structure my business, I decided to try a different approach, and so far so good for me, at least.
Yeah. The reason, I mean, I know there's a lot of people online saying niche down, and I know that can work, but I think the limitation is because Perth is an exception.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we are a very small bubble. It's not like if you just say you live in Chicago in America, right? You could drive at a pinch to quite a few cities.
Yep.
And I know that there's actually artists over there that market in different cities on purpose because they can make more money there.
Absolutely.
Whilst in West Australia we can't do that. It's completely impractical.
There's less money circulating.
So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm trying to spread my packages and offer a lot of different cultural solutions, because one thing I found with weddings is the format to them is generally driven by culture, and we have a lot of different cultures in Perth. So if you try and niche down, people won't book you because they go, oh, but you didn't provide this. And I just lost a job recently because of that.
I'm going to jump in here because I think when people talk about niching, it's very different to how I think about niching.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually, so I think the thing with niching is that what people have generally been thinking is when you niche down, you stop doing other things, right? You niche down and you target one specific things and you stop doing everything else. So in this marketing course I just did, they told me they don't even have a website. They only have a landing page. So they are getting enough people through their courses. They had 30 people in their course in the one I did. They did 2 a month, and they're going around Australia doing 2 a month. So 30 people in every marketing course. They don't even have a website. I don't know if you guys see where I'm going with this, and I'm not going to say too much, but niching down nowadays doesn't require the entire service, production, website, everything. You only need a landing page. So think about how many niches, quote unquote you could have, right? It's the potential for marketing nowadays is enormous, and people aren't tapping into it in the right way, I think. And I think there's just different ways to be able to present yourself to different cultures, to different demographics that is different to what people have been doing traditionally. And I think it's for us as new business owners and coming into the space, for everyone watching, I think our job nowadays is to find new ways to actually get in front of people from different cultures or from different demographics or for whatever it might be, and working out a way you can, in the most efficient and easy and seamless way possible, show them what you're offering and sell it to them, and do that across the board for a variety of different people. And I think that's where we need to go in that direction generally across the board. I think having your traditional one website with 10 different packages, I think that's gone nowadays. You're much more likely to book someone offering 2 packages on a few different platforms or something like that. And that's how I've been thinking about it. And yeah, it's just kind of changed. So my understanding of niching is have niche marketing funnels, not a niche skill set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting, James. And I was actually watching a video this morning from Gary Vee. I know people have heard of Gary Vee, he's a very popular marketing person. And he was actually talking about how the market actually changed and how something that he did 20 years ago, they wouldn't allow him into a meeting, but now is accepted. So, cultures change, how people are marketed to change.
Yeah.
What is popular in, say, a wedding industry or any industry changes. And you have to be continually adapting.
Yes.
And that's the challenge for us as artists, I think, because generally, and especially speaking for myself, I'm not, the car salesman or the real estate agent. I can't talk like them. Some people, find me a little bit difficult to talk to, and that's just Waynos, But my heart's in the right spot. I always want to give you the best service possible. Yes. I may not be, the best talker. And that's very challenging for me because I need to learn that as a marketing person. It's part of a job of having a business. I need to talk to customers. I need to be able to tell them my products, and I need to be able to say, hey, look, this is what I offer, and communicate that in a way that is going to meet their expectations. So it's very, very difficult, and that's something that I'm putting a lot of time into at the moment. I have put a lot of time into my product. I think my product is a good product, and I'm now working on the experience and also the marketing of those products, which a lot of people talk about in this wedding industry. So it's very, very difficult, and it's very challenging.
Yeah. Being in front of the camera is probably the most challenging thing in modern marketing, right? Most of my week, I would say about 15 hours a week, is made up of doing stuff like this: podcasting, marketing, business growth, and all of that, which is a hard reality, to be honest, because I come from a place like very passionate about photography and videography, devoted my whole adult life to it. But then it became to the point where it's like, how do I get clients? And then I was on vacation in Europe with my fiance, and I just said to her, I just need to get a camera and get in front of the camera. It was like 2.5 years ago, and I was just like, I just need to do it, babe. Like, I'm just kind of sitting, and like, I just need to become a YouTuber or something, and, just put myself out there and get familiar. I remember the first videos I made, I was so crap, and I was so scared to put them online, and I just wouldn't do it. And it just sat there on a hard drive for like 6 months to a year. And then eventually when I started rolling it out, and at first people were hating me, no one was liking it. You're like an AI robot or whatever it might be. But then I got better and better and got more confident. And then, over time it just started to click. And then, all of a sudden, like within a 3-month period, it's gone, podcasting in my lobby to podcasting in, a room. And it's just like, it changes and it grows. And I think just for people, like, you just need to start, right? It's like, it's a skill set, like you get better at it, right? It's kind of what I'm trying to say. And at the start, I wasn't even putting, my content online because I was freaking out about it. And now I'm putting, content online every single day. And yeah, it's just something you get better at over time, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will have to say, I've been doing online content for a long time, so I'm not afraid to talk on a camera, right?
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how many talking heads I've done.
Well, you're lucky. And I have to say,
right?
Waynos, you're pretty bloody good, mate. You've come on, and we've gone for a solid hour easily.
Yeah, but it's not as easy as people think.
It's not, man.
I'm sitting here with James, and if I look around the room, I can see we have a light, and it's with a modifier on it. We've got 2 cameras. He's got a computer. He's got some sort of control box. We've got 2 microphones and 2 stands. There's a significant amount of equipment in this room to carry out this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not a simple task to do these sorts of things. Even to do a talking head video, you have to set up your camera. I normally do my microphone separately. I suppose this is kind of like a wedding habit. I don't plug it straight into the camera. I record it and then I sync it later. Yeah. So maybe I could make it easier for myself. But yeah, you've got to sit down. But the biggest issue I find with doing content is, what do you talk about? Okay, so I've made a video today, and I made one this morning, and I'm going to make another. How do I provide value in that video to my potential clients? And I'm always conscious of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk about cameras and how the sensor works, and this camera overheats and that, but that is only marketing to other people in the industry. It's not giving any information to potential clients. So
yes and no. So I'm of a different opinion, and I'm going to say providing value. We have 6 viewers in here at the moment, so thumbs up, shout out to all you guys. Let us know where you're watching from. And we've had 100 people come through. That's a lot of attention.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
So
thanks everyone. Thanks for joining in.
I'm sure everyone watching here has been provided with various amounts of value, and I think we're saying really good things, and people want that organic and natural content. And I think the thing with like content nowadays is people are sick of that hyper advertising content. People just want normal, natural people. And yes, you need to get efficient at presenting or talking about your ideas. It's like writing essays or whatever you do at uni. You start kind of put a sentence together, and then by the end you're able to string your thoughts together. And you're able to speak very fluently, and I think that's the skill that people need to learn nowadays. But I'm not going to reveal too much because I'm planning on developing this into a course eventually. But I think attention is the asset you should be investing into, and I think attention comes in many and various different ways. And I think the thing that people get lost in, and I'll leave it at that, is not picking enough cohorts to market to. Cohorts are groups of people. So I think you need to pick a few different cohorts of people to market to, and not every cohort's going to buy from you, but the cohorts will all give you attention and give you publicity and put you in the spotlight. And then you just need to market to a certain percentage of one cohort, and those are your buyers. So it's like Gary V, jab, right hook. Continually pull out your jabs, continually pull out your content, get attention, develop that as an asset. Don't think of it as something that's an outgoing cost. It's your name is an asset that you're going to grow and develop over time. And as long as people know your name, you're eventually going to get some sort of work from it. And those people who are going to pay for your service when you have that much attention and that much publicity are going to pay a lot more, and you're going to be able to have exclusivity because then you're booked out more, and the snowball starts to roll down the hill, and it grows and grows and grows. And I think that's how I think about marketing, and I've put a lot of time into it, and providing value is it's a very difficult thing, and I think that's what I'm always thinking about is how do I provide value to people online, and my way of providing value, my expertise is photography and videography. I know if I talk about photography and videography, we're going to have viewers in here that are watching and contributing and kind of engaging, and I think that's that's the kind of number one thing to do, and that's how I think about it.
Look, I mean, I've done a lot of that. I'd made a lot
you're big on YouTube.
I made a lot of videos. I don't know if you've seen on my channel, but I made a lot of videos about anamorphic lenses. Because
I haven't seen them.
I don't know if people realise the price of anamorphic lenses has really plummeted over probably the last 5 years. They used to be insanely expensive, and now there's these Chinese brands making them, and they're extremely affordable now. Probably I should take a step back, go tell you what an anamorphic lens is. It's a lens that has a squeeze in it and makes everything look more stretched upwards.
Yes.
And the reason why it was designed is because they wanted to have widescreen cinema. This was, many, many decades ago. But they didn't want to change the film size because the film size cameras were pretty much set. So how could they make it widescreen? So they go, what we'll do is we'll distort the image so it's squashed onto the film. And then when we put it in the projector and project it in the cinema, we'll use another lens to de-squeeze it. Okay, so that's how anamorphic lenses were first invented, okay? And they've had a bit of a resurgence in movies like Dune and so forth, where they're using a lot of this. And it has a different, the out of focus area looks quite different. It's a very kind of unique, kind of not so perfect look. Anyway, getting back to the anamorphic lenses, now you can buy them very, very cheap. And I bought into a brand called Blazer Remus, and they're about $1,200 each, these lenses. And there was a lot of talk about them, they weren't very good focus and, they got flaws in them and all that sort of stuff. So I made a lot of content about them and did a lot of tests on focusing, different apertures, and even artifacts that they produce with different lighting and backlighting. And, that to me offers value because people who want to buy those lenses can do some research before they're buying them. And also adapters were a bit of an issue as well, getting them with some of the lenses because the back part of them was protruded significantly and you couldn't use them with a lot of branded type adapters. So you can add value in all different ways, but that's obviously that's not wedding industry, guys. I know that, but maybe of interest to someone. So
well, what you've done is you've applied values to videographers. Look, early on in my Instagram, that's all I did. I just provided value in educational form videos, and as I started to get more and more wedding work, it all just became about weddings, and that's where I'm at now. Is my value is my expertise in wedding photography and actually being on site, and that's all I've been producing. And so I've kind of changed it over time. But the tutorials are great. People really find value in that, and that's something I wish I had more time to do. But if you're kind of already doing 15 hours of this a week, it's a bit.
Well, you never
hard.
know. I mean, anamorphic lenses may actually, and I kind of predicted this would happen.
So the Canon C50 just came out, has open gate, which I think is
exactly.
you can
that's
chuck
for anamorphic lenses.
Anamorphic lenses. So that's I've been thinking about it.
So the reason why, and that's one of the reasons why I bought a Lumix camera, guys. I'm a Canon guy, but I bought a Lumix camera. Anyway, if you're one of those brand people,
so you can jump on the
and the open gate, what it's designed is because the anamorphic lens is squashed. When you unsqueeze it, you can get more width. So you can use the full width of the D-squeeze, whilst if you're using a 16:9 sensor, which is on most of your cameras, you generally, to get the standard Panavision widescreen, you have to lose a little bit on each side. So that's the advantage. That's what open gate was really for, anamorphic lenses. But what's interesting enough about anamorphics is there's this trend on Instagram, I don't know if you've seen it, James, of this really, really narrow widescreen. That's coming,
yes.
And I think this is a reaction which always happens in fashion. People are starting to reject the upright videos. So, all of a sudden everyone's saying you've got to do upright video. Upright video is the new, the new norm, all this sort of stuff. And I agree, it's a format because it fits phones. But now you're seeing this ultra widescreen. It's insane, looks like a strip. You may have seen it scrolling on Instagram. You go, why is this picture really, really narrow? Well, the people have actually uploaded it like that on purpose, and it's becoming a bit of a trend. So you never know, we may be shooting weddings in anamorphic lenses soon. So maybe a prediction for 2050 or something.
There you go. Look, that's the funny thing about trends, man, is completely agree that it's like a wave, right? It goes up and then it comes down, it goes up and it comes down. We're in that
what's
era.
Cool is not cool.
No, that's right. It always changes. Trends are always changing. Look, anamorphic lenses, you notice I always have soft filters on my lenses, the glimmer glass. Everyone jump on those. They're amazing, and buy the good ones as well.
Yeah, I need a little bit of that because I'm getting on in the years. So James did me a big favour and made me look 100 times better. Thank you, James.
Okay, we got the soft light, the soft filters, the wrinkle filters. That's what I say to people at the events I shoot. Do you have a? I go, actually, I do have a soft filter on there. Makes everyone feel very comfortable.
It's actually. I actually have to. I'm guilty, but I do it in post. I use a lot of bloom.
I do as well.
In my,
I do as well. I do both.
I use it to create depth in my image, and I usually layer my images to do that. But there is a especially with filmmakers, because I follow a lot of filmmakers. They seem to be a step ahead of the wedding industry, and there is a lot of movement away from really sharp lenses, and a lot of people are. There's companies now who are even rehousing old lenses, Helios lenses, rehousing them, and some photographers actually starting to use anamorphic lenses and some of these these old funky type lenses, and the out of focus areas look kind of really quite different.
Dreamy, dreamy, cinematic.
And that's the sort of effect you get with anamorphics. It can be a little bit too much if you try and run the apertures too fast. Sometimes the image is just a little bit too much.
Yeah,
But I really love the look of them, especially the what's the word now? The barrel distortion, not so much the pincushion distortion. I really like the barrel. If anyone knows what that means, I may be talking something that people don't understand. But yeah, if you want to talk anamorphic lenses, let's just jump on my channel. And I made lots of content about that. Yeah.
Thanks for the follow, girl with camera. I really appreciate that. Glad you joined the conversation. Yeah, look, I'm a big. The only thing that's holding me back for anamorphic lenses is I need to get the C50 that's just been released, and there's a few things on that camera that I'm not too keen on, which we can talk about maybe because you're a Canon guy. And the other thing is the open gate is apparently enormous file sizes, and I don't want to store any more files. I would be
just some feedback on OpenGate. The problem with the OpenGate, and I bought a camera specifically to get it.
Yep.
Okay. So I bought the S5 II, which is Lumix, which was the first camera or hybrid camera to offer this OpenGate, right? And I bought it because I bought anamorphic lenses. I invested quite a lot of money. I got a whole set of them.
Okay.
Now, the whole issue is that these OpenGate formats are locked to certain frame rates and certain resolutions. It's not a across the board. So if you want to shoot, just say you wanted to shoot some higher frame rates for slow motion or whatever, then you have the issue where you've got some that's shot in OpenGate and some that's shot in 16:9, and then you have to mix and match them to the same widescreen look to make it all fit.
That's tricky.
I know people are saying, yeah, you can do, vertical and horizontal video and it makes it easier, but that's not really the whole concept of OpenGate. I think that's a bit of just a bit of a marketing tool they're using because the cameras are so good now that you can just zoom them up and they look fine for social media and Instagram. It's not even an issue, right? So I don't think that that's an argument. But to me, I think the OpenGate feature in the cameras is a little bit immature at this point. When they can get it across, it's like when we used to have some cameras, 4K used to crop, and you go, I've got to crop now because I'm in 4K 60, right? It's a pain. It's the same kind of logic. You go, okay, I'm in 25 frames and I've got OpenGate. I go to 50. Oh, I don't get it. And you go,
That's a bit crap, actually. I don't like it when cameras do that stuff. There's, problem with the 5C is where it doesn't have Bluetooth and video mode.
If you're using it, I've used anamorphic lenses a lot. Almost all of my talking heads are done vertical on anamorphic lenses. So, almost if I'm shooting it at home like this and I've got the camera, I'm using an anamorphic lens, right? Now, a lot of these ones out of China, what they do to get the effect is that they graduate the squeeze in the edges. So basically what happens is if a person moves from the center to the edge, right, to give it a wider, like a 2 times anamorphic look, which is the proper Panavision anamorphic lenses, they're cheating a little bit, right? So they've got a 1.33 times or 1.5 times. So what they do is to kind of cheat, as you get closer to the edge of the lens, it squashes more.
It's warping.
So the people kind of, they look like toothpicks. Yeah. Like if you move your hand towards the edge of the screen, it becomes skinnier. Yeah. And so it's very distorted, significantly distorted. Well, and if you shoot in 16:9 and you take a 1.5 times and you set it to standard cinema widescreen, standard cinema widescreen, trying to get my wording right, you lose a little bit off the edges. Like a little bit, it's not much, but it's the most distorted part. So it's not like as if it's a big issue. And, people go on about resolution, but it's not really an issue. Cameras are so good,
I never knew that process actually, but that's really interesting, man. It's crazy what you can do with cameras. You're right. But look, resolution nowadays is phenomenal. Look, I'm of the opinion that you can buy a Canon R5 and you can shoot stills fine. Like a Canon R5 from, not the R5 II, the original R5, and you can shoot anything you want, high-end commercial projects, high-end weddings, and no one's going to tell.
5D3, 5D4.
5D4 you could. I think
Beautiful. A lot of people still use them.
You'll be limited on the focusing, I think. I think that's the big jump is the autofocus nowadays. It's changed my way of shooting entirely. But my 5C, which has same focus as the 5, that shoots, realistically, it shoots just as well as my 5.2. Yes, the 5.2 has some better improvements, but is it significant amount to pay double for the camera? No, it's probably not for a semi-pro or a part-time or whatever it might be. If you're a top-end professional, yes, you probably want to get the best every time. But like truthfully, cameras from that 2019, 2020, I think are just as good in terms of resolution and mostly across the board as they are with the 2025 cameras.
Yeah, look, I mean, as I said before, I've got a few years on me, and when I started from cameras, right, when I was a teenager, people don't know how good cameras are today.
They're amazing.
Are insane good. The
They're amazing,
autofocuses are absolutely amazing. The images you get straight out of camera, you could probably do nothing with them. They look amazing. The video now that these hybrid cameras are producing is insane.
That's
good.
the big jump. That's the big jump. Yeah.
Video's really improved a lot over the last 10 years.
That's why that's why I invested in it, was to bring video into the business, because I didn't have enough cameras to do videos. I was only doing stills on the R's, and they were fine, and they were producing good enough work for that. But then it was like, how do I get my business to the next level? And it was bringing video in, and it's worked really, really well. But I didn't bring video in because I didn't have good video on the Canon bodies, good enough video. The original 5 had a lot of overheating problems, really bad overheating problems. The R3 was too far in my price range. But when they released these ones, it was like, it's here now. Video is coming into mirrorless bodies, and that's the big jump, I think.
And it is. It does take a little bit more work because you need to, because of file sizes, and most people are still working in log because RAW isn't too insane big.
I don't use RAW. No.
But with the log footage, it's very close now. You can get images that are as good as getting close. I mean, it's not quite there yet. Maybe I haven't tried the RAW because the files are just too insane big, right? It's just like. And
that's one thing people shooting, because you're right, cameras are starting to plateau. They're not really getting much better. Like, there's new features, yes, and there's video coming into the bodies, but in terms of resolution and autofocus since 2020, I think it's pretty much the same. It really is. So I don't think
they're so good.
They're so good. Like
you sort of go, how can they make them better?
And the truth is, I got a little bit caught up initially when I was buying the 5C. I was like, I really just want to produce a few 8K portfolio movies in RAW and just give it a try and just produce something. I've never done it. I've had the camera for 4 years now. So,
look, I mean, but that's actually a good point, a good lead into, because I know I'd get flamed a lot for this, right?
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of my own tests, and I really do think the whole 4K, ultra high definition, is, for the average person, is a complete myth. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that is because quality of watching videos has actually gone backwards. When we were in the era, and I was like a big, audio filler video movie. I got a fantastic home theater system at home, right? And because I was big into it, and I got like hundreds and hundreds of movies on Blu-rays. When we went from watching Blu-rays back to watching more content online, like streaming it, the quality's gone down. And the reason why is because of bandwidth. The bandwidth limits our quality. And if you've got a pipe and your bandwidth is only so big, right, and you are making the image 4 times as big and it's got to go down the same pipe, it's going to be 4 times worse because you're taking out 4 times as much of all the lines. You know what I mean?
I do.
Because bigger, it's 4 times bigger, 4K is 4 times bigger than 1080p, then it has to be compressed even more than 1080p because bigger, right, to get it down to the same hole, bandwidth to put down the pipe. So even though we're watching 4K, we think we're watching 4K, right?
It's losing quality in different spaces.
Yeah, it's not actually really any better.
That's really,
and
really
even
interesting.
if you watch on YouTube, and you're watching 4K and you set it to the maximum setting and you've got really good internet and you're getting all the bandwidth, you can still see artifacts in the images, especially if there's a lot of blacks or greys, which is consistent. You can see it looks like a rainbow of the greys because it hasn't got enough information to grade it perfectly.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And
it's taking out the color depth and
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, you haven't got as much color information.
I think that's a big one. 422. I've experimented with 420 and 422. 422 blows 420 out of the water if you begin to do any form of color grading.
Exactly. 10 bits insanely better than 8 bit.
I've noticed that on the Sony bodies, we played around last time. We tried all eye and the compressed format, longer.
The different it says IPB.
IPB. Yeah. Canon says IPB. The Sony bodies, the FX3 that Michael uses, his footage looks significantly better in all eye. My Canons though, from IPB to all eye, I can't tell the difference. I really cannot tell the difference in terms of pushing and pulling, in terms of the quality. Playing back on a 25p frame line, if you're really pixel peeping, yes, you can see the missed clips. But in terms of for me on my Canon bodies and what I use, I find that IPB is fine, but the big jump's 1080p to 4K. So it's really interesting to see how different bodies work differently, and you really need to test your gear and learn what works with your gear. And I'm sure every camera is different, but yeah, the Canon R5C, if I shoot all eye, I can only film for like 80 minutes. It is such enormous file sizes. So, but then on the Canon R5 II, if I film in all eye on the same resolution, I get more like 200 minutes. So the Canon R5C has a completely different coding system.
Interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. So you really need to learn the bodies and what each body does. Yeah.
I will say, and I mean,
we will have
putting
to
my Canon
wrap it up
hat
now.
on
We're
here,
getting one
Canon
and a half.
fan. Canon fan.
We are Canon fanboys.
I like the images out of the Canon. I shoot always in all eye, and I shoot in 1080p, guys. So flame me if you want to. I can't see the value in 4K. I tried it, and I can't see the difference. So
there you go.
1080p, but I shoot in all eye, which gives you it's interlaced.
Yes.
There's no prediction between frames.
Yep.
So you're getting all of the information, and the files are big, even in 1080p. Like they're normally around about 400. 400. If I go to
megabytes per second,
if I go to 100 frames per second in 1080p, I think then you have to shoot on the CF Express cards. So it's starting to get big. It's starting to get around 800, whatever.
Yep.
So the Canon files are significantly bigger.
Yep.
That can be, that's obviously a pain in the neck because everything takes longer to copy and back up and everything like that. But I think it does represent that you can get a much nicer image. You can get much better tones. That's what I find. And I have, comparing it to my Lumix camera, which I think has a Sony sensor in it, and it's a much smaller file. It's only around about 200 megabits compared to like the same footage I'm getting, which is about 400 out of the Canon. The Canon just feels more, it just produces a better image.
Yeah.
You can just get more out of it.
I think in certain areas you can. I think I've definitely noticed that Sony works better in certain lighting conditions. Canon works better in certain lighting conditions as well. I've had the pleasure of using both quite a bit, Sony and Canon. I've got some footage from a Lumix SS5 that I need to go edit, but I haven't got around to yet. So yeah, it is really interesting. I think every camera shines in different scenarios, I think, and yeah. But I'm going to have to wrap it up, Waynos, because I just realized the time.
To say with the Lumix, note. Even though I'm saying the image is not good, you got to remember that I'm comparing an $8,000 camera with a $2,800 camera.
There you go. And there's probably megapixels as well.
And where does it fit in the price point?
That's right.
Lumix camera is extremely good value for money. Extremely good value.
But we still love Canon. Shout out to Canon. All right, so we have a few guys in here at the moment. Thanks all so much for jumping in and watching, guys. Episode will be on YouTube. I'll be doing an upload run probably on Friday after a couple of days off. So thanks everyone for jumping in and checking out the episode. James Stephanie Photography Podcast, supported by Rode. So go check them out as well, using the video mics and the video mic USB. Absolutely amazing gear, and the Rodecaster video allowing us to live stream to Instagram. So everyone will be streaming quite regularly. Go check out our YouTube and Spotify. We're going to play the outro song. That was Waynos Photos and Film. What an amazing conversation. I really like that one. Good job, mate. So let's wrap it up.
Thank you, James.
Peace out, everyone.